afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DogCatFox and Friend. He's DogCatFox.
Wow, wow.
And I'm the friend. And welcome to Saturday for some Saturday news. You go over there. Go in your little pen. What? No, I know. Okay. Your friend's not ready yet. I've been very lazy on preparing DogCatFox's friend. Other friend. I mean, I'm the friend, but I mean, he's got another friend. He's got another scientific experiment that I need to, I keep meaning to tend to, but it needs some components. It'll get there eventually. Just have to, I have to budget myself because we have Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, so buying components is sketchy business. Anyway, who's joining me on this beautiful Saturday afternoon? The Alexander. Hello. Noah Sencio. Hello. Let's see. Who else is here? Blue-Eyed Scream. Hello. Jill Powers, the River Daughter. Good afternoon. Kieverdam, hello, and thank you, Kieverdam, as always, for providing the link at the top of the chat box, guys, for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's donation page. Please take a look at that when you have the opportunity. If you can donate, please do so. But even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Kieverdam, as always, for providing the link. Plague Trucker Zach, or Zach Osborne, as the case may be. Hello. The Vexorcist. Good afternoon. Mike Savage. Blarg. Kirsten Scholl over on the X Machine. Yes, I am simulcasting on X. For reasons still mysterious and bewildering to me. But if you happen to have an X account and you see me over there, share out the stream. Because I said so. So, there. Who else here? Slipknot06. Slipknotic, pardon me. I always stumble on it. I just see Slipknotic 06. Hello. Let's see. Who else is here? John Traxon, hello. Frosted Glass, hello. Otho May. Haven't said that name in a long time. And Simon Willikins. And I'm only pausing because it doesn't say Simon Willikins anymore. I just see that avatar and I'm like, that is Simon Willikins, right? I'm not screwing that up, right? I can't... If I see the avatar but I don't see the name, I get, like, uncertain of my own memory. Like, do I have it right or not? Okay. Thankfully for that. If I'd screwed that up, I would have felt really bad. I would. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I gotta get all my streamer stuff going here. I got my chat box and got my banner, and then I suppose I have to do some stories or something. There's a lot of news today. Let's start off with something that just happened in the relatively recent past. Somebody went all knife happy at a college amongst his teammates or something. University of Alabama stabbing. Who is Daniel Mincy, UAB football player accused of assaulting teammates? Just cuz, I guess? Police arrested UAB offensive lineman Daniel Mincy after a stabbing inside the university football's operations center, leaving 2 players injured. Hopefully it's just injured. I mean, it's the best you can hope for. Police arrested UAB offensive lineman Daniel Mincy after a stabbing inside the University of Alabama's football operations center, according to the New York Times report. 2 players were injured in the incident and sent emergency crews to the campus on Friday morning. Mincy joined UAB this offseason after transferring from Kentucky. I have a feeling he'll be transferring somewhere else pretty quick. What police said: campus police officers arrested Mincy and charged him with aggravated assault and attempted murder. Okay, Birmingham Fire and Rescue took at least 2 victims to UAB Hospital. The university's first statement said the players' injuries were non-life-threatening. Well, that's good. Jefferson County Jail records show Mincy was booked at 12:40 p.m. local time and moved to the county jail as a pretrial inmate. Reports from WVTM TV said the stabbing happened shortly after 10 a.m. Birmingham Fire and Rescue responded to the spot. UAB police is leading the investigation. The university later shared an update statement saying that the 2 injured players are in stable condition. The statement confirmed that the suspect, described as another player, is in custody and that the investigation continues. UAB said the team chose to play the scheduled game. Okay, school officials added that student safety remains the top priority. So, one of your players goes all knife crazy on two other players and you still play the game? I mean, I guess the show must go on, but all right. Due to patient privacy rules and the active investigation, the university did not provide more details. UAB is set to face USF at 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. The Blazers entered the game with a 3-7 record and a 1-5 mark in the American Athletic Conference. The team lost its last 3 games, including a 53-24 loss to North Texas at home, despite gaining 478 yards on offense. The team turned the ball over 4 times. Now, all of that is mostly Greek to me. I don't follow sports. In fact, I can't recall the last time I read a sports-related story of any note. But yeah, so as Marvel Humor would say, that happened. What happened with what's his name? The guy who did the stabbing at the track meet. Why can't I remember his name all of a sudden? Is he still in custody? Hold on. I gotta remind myself. He had a very unique name. Yeah, it was Austin Metcalf. Carmelo Anthony. That's what it was. Carmelo Anthony. When is that supposed to happen? Oh, his trial isn't until June 1st of 2026. Oh, no wonder we haven't heard much. He's just sitting around waiting. Okay. Well, there you go. So yeah, UAB stabbing. Let's see, who else is here? We got a Brian Morissette. Good afternoon. And yeah, Carmelo. That was it. I kept thinking. I remember the last name was Anthony, but I was like, the first name is something unique-ish, I think. And Zach Osborne. I haven't heard about the Austin Metcalf thing for a while. Yeah, I guess it's just basically in stasis awaiting the trial. So there you go. Yeah, so now I'm curious as to motive. Just morbidly curious more than anything else. Like, why would you just suddenly go stab happy on your teammates after you just transferred there? Like, I'm the new guy. Now I'm going to violently assault you. I guess? I don't know. But speaking of violent assaults, because why not? You may have heard in the last 24 hours that Marjorie Taylor Greene has set a resignation date from Congress. Well, and apparently because of some disputes and disagreements and disappointments regarding President Donald Trump. Well, there is another Greene, various shades of green apparently, who really, really don't like Donald Trump. Let's talk about that one. Kidnap riddle. Ex-Republican staffer Natalie Greene found hogtied with Trump whore scrawled on her belly before case takes shocking turn. Ooh. Horrific photos in court documents show Greene with deep, grisly cuts on her body and face. So what happened to Natalie Greene? A former Republican staffer was found hogtied with multiple cuts and Trump whore scrawled on her stomach before the case took a shocking twist. You know, there's been several instances now in recent and old history where someone is found having been assaulted with something scrawled on them. And in almost every instance that I've heard of, it was a hoax. You had the Tawana Brawley case from the 80s. Morton Downey Jr., not Robert Downey Jr., Morton Downey Jr. set up his own fake assault by scrawling things on himself. Ezra McCandless, if you ever saw that case or heard about that case, she carved a word into her arm, etc., in setting up a fake attack. Every time I hear someone like somebody wrote something on my arm or my head or my belly or something, it's like they took the time to autograph it. I don't know. Natalie Greene claimed she was violently assaulted by thugs in a politically motivated attack. Maybe we should call her Natalie Smollett. Yeah, okay, YouTube, sorry. When cops rushed to the scene, they found Greene screaming and crying with dozens of cuts on her body. Her hands and legs were hogtied with zip ties, with political slurs written on her body with a black marker. Trump whore was written on her stomach, and Van Drew is a racist on her back. Van Drew. I don't know what that is. Horrific photos and court documents show Greene with deep, grisly cuts on her body and face. Investigators also revealed that Greene claimed the men who allegedly attacked her threatened to shoot her. It was all while she was buying a Subway sandwich, by the way, at 2 a.m. in Chicago in minus 20-degree weather. She said the alleged attackers cut her body and up and scribbled those messages. Cut her body and up? You mean cut her body up and? Okay. She told authorities she was held down while the men cut her and wrote on her body in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, but in a horrifying twist that no one could have seen coming. The Department of Justice alleges Natalie Greene staged the attack and paid someone $500 to slice dozens of cuts into her body. She has been charged with conspiracy and making false statements to law enforcement in a staged political stunt. How much do you have to hate Donald Trump or the Republican Party or whatever? Anyway, prosecutors said that on the night of July 23rd, Greene painted accomplice, a woman who had not been named in the original complaint, frantically called 911 to report a violent crime. They also claimed that 2 days before the fraud assault, Greene drove to Pennsylvania and paid a body modification artist she found on Instagram $500 to get those cuts. So, hey, neighbor, here's $500. Cut me up. Okay, so she got herself cut up and sat with those injuries for 2 days before staging the assault. She just went through her normal life with cuts all over her body. That's, She is even said to have provided the artist with a design she wanted gouged into her flesh. Investigators later found the location of the tattoo body modification parlor on her phone and discovered a Reddit profile that followed pages that include body mods and scarification. When the feds went to the artist's studio in Pennsylvania, they found a receipt showing Greene had paid $500 for the cuts to be made on her body. Yes. They also found that Greene's co-conspirator had Googled zip ties near me on a cell phone just 2 days before the fake attack. Criminal genius! The DOJ also revealed that zip ties similar to the ones used to bind Greene's hands were found in her car. Prosecutors said that Greene was taken to a hospital where she and her accomplice gave police conflicting accounts of what happened and provided faulty descriptions of the phantom assailants. You'd think after, like, you know, I'm gonna go to a body mod artist, pay $500, get cut up, wait 2 days, and then set this up. You would have thought that the one thing they would have made sure to get right out of all that other planning is to get their story straight. Gen Z. Lazy. U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina Habba, charged Greene with 1 count of conspiracy to convey false statements and hoaxes and 1 count of making false statements to federal law enforcement. She was arraigned on Wednesday in federal court and released on a $200,000 unsecured bond. But if found guilty on both charges, Greene faces up to 10 years in prison, $500,000 in fines, and up to 6 years of supervised release. I'm just glad, of everything else about this case, which is insane, I'm just glad that she wasn't trying to frame specific individuals. That she didn't try to, like, besmirch, like, someone in her life or some ex-boyfriend or something as some kind of monster. It was just, you know, unknown assailants. So the only person that gets hurt in this is her and her co-conspirator, thankfully. The case is a chilling echo of actor Jussie Smollett. Hey, what did I say at the top of this? What did I say? I think I said Jussie Smollett. So I'm gonna take a victory lap on that one. The case is a chilling echo of actor Jussie Smollett, who was accused of falsely claiming he had been the victim of a hate crime. Yes, he was accused of that. Rightfully so. He claimed he was attacked by two white men in the street who punched him. Yeah. And then we go through more of that. Okay. They spend the rest of the article talking about Jussie Smollett. And I'm not going to scroll up again because I don't know if those pictures are going to get me in trouble with YouTube, because I didn't know that they were there. Thanks, the Sun. So yeah, Trump has a Greene problem, I guess. Greene with envy? Green thumb? Let's see. Read by nature. It feels like a flashback to when politicians were found in a BDSM parlor. I mean, whatever works for you, I guess. Layers of the weird onion. Yeah, that girl. That girl is poison. Flesh wizards don't claim her. Okay. Is that something in the Harry Potter universe? Frosted Glass, you really need to Google zip ties. You can get them practically anywhere. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like, well, I don't want to waste time looking for zip ties, rolling the dice that, this store will have them or that the West Star won't. I mean, I couldn't just go to an art supply store or hardware store. Do they have hardware stores anymore, like a Lowe's or something? Yeah. Go to a Lowe's or a Home Depot. Gotta Google. That's like I said, just lazy generation. Lazy and short-sighted. Datura Jones, it would be obvious if the scars were 2+ days old. Usually there's a crust that forms on the sides. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if this just happened, you've already set an age on the injuries that don't line up with the timeline of the attack. But, I'm not complaining that they're dumb criminals. It's just, some things just seem like so blatantly obvious that if you're going to do something like this and put this much thought into it, or thought of detail, the dramatic set dressing of it, that you don't think about. I mean, seriously, after several decades of CSI shows and cold case files and forensic files and everything else, none of this occurred to them. Man, what is the world coming to? Tell you what. Let's see. Not Z3BO. Going up against EFAP Scribe. We really need to TV guide these streams. I nominate Tom as the new Brandon Tartikoff. Brandon Tartikoff. I remember when Brandon Tartikoff appeared on Saved by the Bell. Yes. Yeah, that was after Good Morning Miss Bliss. Haley Mills. I'm old, by the way. I'm old. Slipnotic, you can get them at some convenience stores. Yeah, I know. It's like you have to Google zip ties. Honestly, it's probably the fact that they've never, either her or her co-conspirator have ever had to do any physical labor before, or do anything that involved any kind of minor construction or tech work with, cable management. Like, where do I get zip ties? I see them in TV shows all the time. Where do you get zip ties? I don't know. Anyway. So there you go. But we're not done. We're not done with true crime. I just can't avoid it. This is a little side hustle for living on borrowed crime, I guess, today. Didn't intend it, but that's just how it shook out. Let's talk about D4vd. You guys know about D4vd, don't you? Oh, D4vd. That's how it's spelled. That's how I'm going to say it. Singer D4vd, considered suspect in investigation of teen found dead in his Tesla, say sources. Now, you might say to yourself, for those of you that have heard this case, of course he's considered a suspect. Well, he hasn't been officially considered a suspect yet because they were still trying to build a case. This is the slow and methodical and plotting process of making sure you don't figuratively jump the gun when you make accusations or charges or anything. The article will probably tell more about the story. But here we go. The body of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez was discovered on September 8th. The singer D4vd is now considered a suspect in the death investigation of a teenage girl whose decomposing body was discovered in September in the trunk of a Tesla registered to the singer, sources confirmed to ABC News. No arrests have been made, and the investigation is ongoing. Who is D4vd? I'd never heard of this guy until this happened. Personally, I'd never heard of the guy. It was also kind of like, what was his name? Watkins, the guy in Britain. Until I saw a documentary about him being arrested, I'd never heard of Lost Prophets. Never heard a song. To this day, I've never heard a single song from that band. So I'm probably better for it. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has still not determined a cause and manner of death for the teen, identified as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The teen from Lake Elsinore in Riverside County was reported missing last year, investigators confirmed to ABC News. According to sources, the girl's body was dismembered, and the process of dismembering and disposing of her body is believed to have likely involved more than one person. Investigators have been in contact with multiple people they believe were involved in the case in some way, sources said. Investigators said they believe the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner will determine the cause of death soon, which will be critical in making an arrest and determining charges, sources said. The teen may have been dead for several weeks before her body was discovered, police said. Officers responded to an impound lot in Hollywood on September 8th for, quote, a foul odor coming from a vehicle. Authorities located a body in the front trunk, the frunk, of the Tesla that was in a state of decomposition. The Tesla had been at the impound lot for 2 days after being found abandoned on a Hollywood street, investigators said. Okay, I don't know if the article will say so, but let me paint you a picture. Here, just imagine an overhead shot of a map. Here is D4vd's house, his little house he was living in, okay? And then 2 streets away, like you could walk it in about 5 minutes, is parked the Tesla the entire time. It might have been moved a couple times, but it never really left anywhere more than a block or 2 away from the house of our now suspect. And I kept wondering about, it's like, why if you're trying to dispose, and maybe this is Gen Z criminal genius again, why, if you're trying to dispose of a body and you put it in the frunk of your Tesla, why would you leave it all of spitting distance from your house? A, laziness. B, here's my theory. I don't know if anybody else has said this theory about why they left it on the street and just kind of abandoned it. And it was abandoned for some unknown period of time, maybe several weeks, until somebody reported it. And then the police came and took it. My theory, and it's just a theory, this is just a game theory, is that whoever did this was stupid enough to think that someone might see a Tesla just sitting on a street corner and it would be stolen. And someone would take the problem off their hands for them. Because, you know, if you leave an expensive car just sitting out on the street, as TV and movies tell us, somebody will come along and steal it. That's my theory. That's my lazy Gen Z criminal genius theory as to why the car was just left on a street like that. Is that someone would come along, steal the car, not know what they had in the frunk, and take it far away and change the whole chain of custody. I could be wrong. I'm trying to think like an idiot. The towed vehicle is registered to 20-year-old David Anthony Burke, known professionally as D4vd. According to a senior LAPD source, D4vd is allegedly not cooperating with the investigation, amazingly enough. ABC News has reached out to his representative and lawyer for comment several times, but has not received a response. Following the identification of the body in mid-September, a Los Angeles home where D4vd had been living was searched later that night. Yes, the home all of 2 blocks away from where the car was abandoned with the body in it. Let's see. D4vd, who first went viral on TikTok, well, that tells you a lot right there, where he has nearly 4 million followers, had been on his Withered World Tour when the body was discovered in his vehicle. The last few shows of the tour, including in San Francisco and Los Angeles, were canceled. Shows on the European leg of the tour have also been canceled. Promotion on the deluxe edition of the Romantic Homicide singer's debut album, which was set to be released on September 19th, has also been paused. A source close to the situation previously told ABC News. There is a whole lot more lore around this guy, his songs, his lyrics, his involvement with this girl prior to all this. I can't do it justice here. You can check out Dreading on YouTube for a really good breakdown, at least as of a couple weeks ago, on the case. I forget who else did a summary of this off the top of my head. I've seen a couple of videos on it now. Did Turkey Tom do one? Maybe. Anyway, I know Dreading did, so take a look at Dreading if you're curious about, because there's a whole... The ins and outs of this guy's career, his origin story and everything else is just crazy. Crazy. Also, thank you, Faustonia, so much. It's very generous of you. Thank you. Also, you're the #1 commenter on the stream right now. Yes, guys, remember there's a leaderboard for chat window activity. It tells me who my top fans are. And right now my top fans are Faustonia, Zach Osborne, and K. Scholl. 1, 2, 3. You is kings, y'all. You got the crowns. That's right. That's right. Frosted Glass, Scribe Light, D4vd sounds like the worst astromech. Yeah. D4vd. D4vd. Mm-hmm. Romantic Homicide. Is that a how-to guide? Well, see, Read by Nature, that's where all like the lore and the lyrics of several of his songs and very suggestive things and photographs of him and the girl and yeah, if you want a deep dive on that, definitely take a look at Dreading. What was the other channel? There was another channel that did a way extensive jump into his history. It might have been Turkey Tom. I think it was Turkey Tom or Tom After Dark. One of the two. One of his two deals. So check that out. Yeah, it's a ridiculously sad story, but also a really confusing one on the timeline because she was reported missing in February of 2024, I think it was. And then her body was found in September of 2025. But there's evidence that she was active shortly before then. But then there's this long span of time where she just like vanished. I don't know. I can't claim to be an expert on it, but it's a goofy case. Really goofy case. Meh. WD-40. Yeah. D4vd. Well, sounds like deformed. Maybe a little bit. Let's move on to the Coast Guard. You guys like the Coast Guard? I mean, if I swam more, I'd probably be more appreciative of the Coast Guard. Coast Guard reclassifies swastikas and nooses as hate symbols after backlash. So I'm guessing the Coast Guard had to first declassify those things as symbols of hate. Does the Coast Guard keep like a booklet on what counts as hateful symbols? Is the Punisher symbol in there somewhere? I don't know. The U.S. Coast Guard on Thursday issued a memo that reclassifies swastikas and nooses as hate symbols in a rapid about-face after facing intense scrutiny for a previous policy change which downplayed their display as merely, quote, potentially divisive, unquote. Well, I mean, they are potentially divisive. Obviously. I mean, it all depends on who you're hanging out with. The newest memo expressly prohibits the display of nooses, swastikas, or representations of, these words are cut off on this thing, of supremacy, something, 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 or any other improper bias. It was released hours after the Washington Post reported that the Coast Guard had approved a policy that downgraded the way the symbols, which are some of the most recognizable emblems of racism and anti-Semitism, had previously been classified. Well, the noose thing is all a matter of context, because I've seen it used in comedy or horror or, Clue. So the swastika doesn't really have, no context is needed. Or if you're, what was that guy, what was that race car driver, Bubba something? Like somebody had a pull down rope for a garage door or something, and he decided that it was a noose and made a big deal out of it for like a week. Remember that? I remember that. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Since 2023, Coast Guard policy had said displaying the symbols, quote, constitutes a potential hate incident, unquote. In the updated policy, first reported by the Post on Thursday and issued by the Coast Guard last week, that language had been changed to referring to those symbols simply as potentially divisive. That policy had been set to take effect in December. The newest policy, released yesterday, says, quote, divisive or hateful symbols, and flags are prohibited. It lists swastikas, nooses, and other emblems that have been adopted or co-opted by hate groups. Okay. Is the Punisher symbol in there? Because I'm going to be ticked off if it is. It's not a symbol of hate, it's a symbol of justice. Let's see. The reversal came amid heavy criticism that the Coast Guard, a military branch which falls under the purview of the Department of Homeland Security, was downplaying the display of insignia which implies support for some of the darkest moments in human history. DHS denied it had changed its policy before the Coast Guard issued the apparent reversal. An agency spokesperson, Tricia McLaughlin, also denied in a post to social media on Friday that the Coast Guard was backtracking by issuing the latest memo. Quote, the 2025 policy is not changing. USCG issued a lawful order that doubles down on our current policies prohibiting the display, distribution, or use of hate symbols by the Coast Guard personnel. She said, this is all much ado about nothing. Much ado about nothing. You know what this reminds me of? I could probably find it. Hold on. I could probably find the story. Yeah, let's see. Because I mumble to myself. I'm going to find... This is one of my favorite Trump stories of the first Trump term. Because it was so ridiculous. It was such a nothing burger about nothing and tried to imply some grand racist conspiracy. Here we go. Trump, Space Force, and Air Force will be separate but equal. What? President Donald Trump used a term from U.S. segregationist history to describe the relationship between the Air Force and his newest military branch, the Space Force, calling it separate but equal. Quote, we must have American dominance in space. Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish the Space Force as the sixth branch of the armed forces. That's a big step, he said. We are going to have the Air Force and we're going to have the Space Force. Separate but equal, it's going to be something so important, he said. The term separate but equal became a legal precedent following an 1896 Supreme Court ruling, Plessy v. Ferguson, that said the use of racially separate facilities, if equal, was not discrimination. That legal rationale was deemed unconstitutional, yada, 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 blah, blah. I love that story. I love that story for just how unhinged and just looking for absolutely anything to implicate something grander. Talking about a new branch of the military, that segregationist language. You know what that means, guys? It's coded language for the alt-right. The U.S. Coast Guard changed 2 words in its policy. That means they're coming for the Jews. You know, come on. Frosty asks, according to Grok, the Punisher symbol isn't considered a... Good. Well, not officially, but there are some people that do. There's some people that do. Oh wait, it was Bubba Wallace. That's what it was. Why did I say Bubba Smith? Bubba Smith was a football player. What am I talking about? Bubba Wallace. Thank you, guys. And Slipnotic said it will. Okay, Bo Wallace. Okay. Bubba. Moose and Squirrel. Oh, yeah. Gee, Rocky, where's Boris and Natasha? That's either Bullwinkle or like Barney doing Bullwinkle. One of the two. Anyway, yeah, that's one of my favorite Trump stories from the first Trump era. Is the separate but equal Space Force nonsense. I remember reading that on Lords of the Night and just like losing my brain trying to figure like why are you so desperate to try to find something insidious going on here? Apparently so. But my last story before I get to some Netflix series reviews, because I have just been inundated with watching TV shows the last week or so. And I've seen a couple of the newest ones, and I thought I'd give my thoughts. But first, Missouri judge, who wore an Elvis wig and often played his music in court, agrees to step down. So I lose my voice for a second there. And he wears a bow tie, which tells you he's a very serious jurist. A Missouri judge who wore an Elvis Presley wig in his courtroom and played the singer's music from his phone during court proceedings has agreed to a deal that would cut his career on the bench short. What kind of deal did he get? Judge Matthew Thornhill in suburban St. Louis faces a 6-month unpaid suspension under the deal he reached with the state board to avoid a disciplinary hearing. After the suspension, he would serve 18 more months on the bench before resigning from the St. Charles County Circuit Court. Okay, so he gets an unpaid vacation, and then he gets another 1.5 years of employment before quitting. The agreement reached last month is pending before the Missouri Supreme Court. Spokeswoman Beth Riegert said Friday the court agreed Thursday to accept 35 letters in support of Thornhill's character. He might be a very good character. Pretending to be Elvis during court proceedings is ridiculously unprofessional. I mean, if you want to, marry people in Vegas or something, fine. Thornhill wrote that he intended, quote, to add levity at times when I thought it would help relax litigants. But he added, quote, I now recognize that this could affect the integrity and solemnity of the proceedings, unquote. Yeah, if I've coming before the court as a plaintiff in a case where I've had something terrible happen to me and the person adjudicating over it is wearing a wig and singing, Jailhouse Rock or something. Yeah. Or Blue Suede Shoes. Online court records don't indicate who filed the complaint that triggered the discipline. His attorney, Neil Bruntrager. Bruntrager. I'm going to say Bruntrager. That just sounds better. Didn't immediately return a phone message from the Associated Press on Friday. While the Commission on Retirement, Removal, and Discipline also faulted Thornhill for talking about politics from the bench, it highlighted his affinity for the King of Rock and Roll first. The court file is sprinkled with photos of Thornhill on the bench or posing with staff in a plastic Elvis wig and sunglasses. Do we get to see those photos here? No, we don't. Now go away, Papa. Thornhill is the longest serving judge in St. Charles County and a former assistant prosecutor there. Okay. According to a biography posted on the court's website, he was elected an associate circuit judge in 2006 and a circuit judge in 2024. His primary assignment is family court. I could imagine trying to bring a little levity to family court might be seen as disrespectful, depending on the circumstances before the court regarding family stuff. Contentious divorces or child custody cases or something even worse. Let's see. Let's see. Once he asked someone appearing in court if the labor union the person worked for had, quote, warmed up to Thornhill for judge, unquote, court record showed. Thornhill wrote that, although the references to campaign signs were made in informal conversations, they were still a mistake. Never did they impact a decision, he wrote. He was also criticized for offering a character letter in an adoption case, which the commission deemed an abuse of his position. Thornhill agreed it was a, quote, mistake and improper. Seems like he made a lot of mistakes and improprieties. Man. Anyway, there you go. This has been a very legal episode of DogCatFox and Friends, between true crime and a judge, and heck, I think all my stories were of that kind of thing, except for the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard was a different kind of story. But what are you going to do? Elvis is Mel Torme. See, that's a reference. But Judge Harold T. Stone, as far as I recall, did not perform Mel Torme on the bench. Mel Torme showed up at the courthouse a few times, which was funny and great. But I think he kept Mel in his office, and that's where Mel stayed. I always loved when the photo of Mel Torme would occasionally have like this shocked expression on his face if something was happening in the room. That show, oh man, that show was just a cartoon, but it was great. Oh man, good old good television. What happened to good old television? I don't know. But let's talk about some newish television. I saw 3, but one of the series is not anything new, so it doesn't make any sense to really talk about it because it's not exactly a hot take. But 2 of the new offerings from Netflix this week. I watched all of Black Rabbit. Oh, what's Black Rabbit? Black Rabbit is a sort of a braided storyline about these 2 brothers played by, almost inexplicably to me, played by Jude Law and Jason Bateman. Double J's. One brother is a successful club owner, bar owner, trendy night spot. The other brother is a mess. And then these 2 worlds collide into a crazy chain of events that is all sorts of crime and violence and intrigue and, family secrets and all types of stuff. It is, I think it's 8 episodes long. It probably could have been 6 episodes. You wouldn't have missed much. The performances are good. Jason Bateman, the thing about Jason Bateman is that he's always just Jason Bateman. The question is, how much on the dial of comedy is it turned up or down? Like when he was in Ozark, the comedy was turned way down. There was still sarcasm and he was still sardonic, but it wasn't playful. It was a very grim Jason Bateman. In this one, he's kind of turned it up to about 5. Still Jason Bateman, but the sarcasm and the one-liners and the attempts at comedy are much more present. This is Jason Bateman decidedly looking different than I'd ever seen him before. As an overall show, it's okay. And I only say it's okay because as I was watching it, there were multiple times, and it wasn't just me. I was watching this with Leonora. Those of you who know what Leonora is. And at multiple times during the course of the show, we each went, who are they talking about? Because they'd mention someone or they make reference to another character, and we'd be searching our brains for, who is that? Because there are so many characters and so many subplots in this thing. It's kind of, it really reminds me a little bit of Pulp Fiction in a way, because you've got all these different little pieces moving and all these relationships, but it's not told like out of order chronologically, but there's just so much to keep track of. And there's at least 2 or 3 subplots they could have completely cut out of the show and nothing would have been lost. In fact, there was one episode that could have been cut out of the show, and I don't think we would have noticed. So it's a little heavy on trying to keep track of all the pieces moving, but Jude Law and Jason Bateman carry the entire show. They're very good. They're fun to watch. The plot logic in several places doesn't make much sense because they're purportedly operating in the real world with real world constraints and things. But there's a couple of moments where you're just like, why isn't he in prison? Like, I won't give away too much, but there's a couple things just like, why would you choose not to tell people this thing? Because it doesn't damage you to say this thing, but it does damage you to keep it a secret. It's so obvious that not saying this thing is damaging to you, and I can't even imagine what the upside is to doing so. And when you have and when they make it a major plot point where someone conceals some information for a while, and you can't figure out why are you concealing this information, it just sits in your brain, and you keep trying to think, okay, are we going to be given an explanation? Like, is this information being withheld because there's some other relationship element here that I'm not aware of? Are they protecting something they haven't told us about yet? So it's gritty. It's got some good scenes. The mainline story is kind of fun to follow in that sort of neo-noir crime, everything spastic and comedic kind of way. But it just felt too much. It felt a little bit messy. So would I recommend it? Sure. It's a fun watch because the fun in it supersedes a lot of my, nitpicking plot line things. But by the end, more likely than not, if you're a fan of crime dramas and things or police procedurals, you're going to have a few questions as to how did that happen and why didn't this happen by the end. So, on a scale of 1 to 5, I'd give it a 3. It's worth watching, but I'm probably not going to want to revisit it, Remember when there were TV shows you'd want to rewatch episodes of? Yeah, I do. The Shield. Like once a year, just about. I mean, I have skipped a year here and there. Once a year, I at least watch the entire run of The Shield again because it's so good. So good. The Black Rabbit is no Shield. So, Black Rabbit, it's all right. It's okay. But then, well, I should say parallel to that, I was watching The Beast in Me, starring Claire Danes and Matthew Rhys. Claire Danes, of course, of My So-Called Life fame. I've never seen Homeland. I hear it's okay. This was great. This show was great. It's only 6 episodes long. The Matthew Rhys's acting and the chemistry between him and just about anybody else that he talks to, but especially Claire Danes, is magic. He's so fun to watch. He's great. And Claire Danes does a really good job as well. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to give it away. But the short version is that Claire Danes plays an author who ends up having a very famous or infamous person move in to a house about a block away from her. And as a result of her being a semi-well-known author and this guy being a controversial figure, eventually the idea of her writing a book about him comes up. And this turns into a whole thing. And as contrasted with Black Rabbit, almost, I gotta say almost because there was at least 1 or 2 little nitpicks, but otherwise almost everything that happens in the show makes sense. One decision to the next, plot logic and everything else. There is, and enough ambiguity about what's going on is built up, at least in the beginning, that you can wonder what's the twist. The only, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give anything away because it's really worth watching. The performances are amazing. The pacing is great. The twists and revelations are just very well timed and precise. It doesn't feel like there's any excess to the show, with the one exception of there's a couple of flashbacks in the course of the show that probably didn't need to be there. They don't hurt anything. They're not a waste of time per se. But some things might have been better left revealed sort of organically rather than just having them thrown in your face. But I mean, it was. I can kind of see how it could work. But yeah, no, Beast in Me is great. And the thing is, it doesn't overstay its welcome. This is one of the things that I always have a problem with some of these shows. And I even mentioned it when I was talking about Black Rabbit. After you watch a show, you think to yourself, that was all right, but you could have done without this episode or these plot lines, and it would have been more efficient. This sucker gets it down just right. 6 episodes, it tells the exact story it needs to tell, very tight script, and watching Matthew Rhys is an absolute joy. If you've never seen him act, and I recognized him, but I don't know that I'd ever seen him in like a leading role before, or that I recall. He was great. Absolutely fun to watch. And everybody else does a pretty good job too. So yeah, can highly recommend The Beast in Me. I'd say 4.5 out of 5. And only slightly misses because of one or two plot logic things that just made me go, that... Yeah, I don't want to say too much. If you've spotted or you have an opinion on what that is, let me know in the comments or elsewise. But definitely worth the watch. Black Rabbit, Beast in Me. Now, they are talking about a sequel series, a season 2 for this, which I am confused as to how you would carry the story forward, because it had a pretty satisfying resolution. But also, I think it would kind of ruin it. It's one of those things where it's like, that's enough. Just stop. Know when to say when. But who knows? I'm happy to be surprised if they do a second season and it's as good as or better than this one. Read by Nature. I liked Homeland, but I stopped watching when Damian Lewis left. Danes was known for having a crazy eye stare as her character. Yeah, I think, was he filming that the same time as his, I think his wife passed away, didn't she? Or, well, no, I know that happened during, he was on Billions when that happened. I don't know why he left Homeland. That part I don't know. But yeah, I've never watched Homeland. I heard it was good. But yeah, Claire Danes, she does, I mean, and it's appropriate for the character. She does frantic in this show very well. Very well. She's got that, her neck. It's all in her neck. It's like the tendons in her neck, and her eyes get all big, and it's like, you can tell that this is someone who's in distress very easily. Frost guys, what's Rhys been in? Well, let me find his filmography here, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see. Well, he was in The Americans, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he's married. He's married to Kerry Russell, isn't he? Yeah, Kerry Russell. Let's see. He was in The Americans, that spy drama. He played Dylan Thomas in The Edge of Love in 2008. Is there any really big movies? I've seen him in like little things. He was in Titus. Oh. Okay, not Titus the TV show, Titus the movie with Anthony Hopkins back in '99. Most recently, he played George Carlin on the Saturday night dramatization in the animated Watchmen show, or I think it was the animated cartoon. He played Night Owl. He was in Cocaine Bear. And television-wise... he was in The Beast in Me. What else? Anything else? He was a voice in the Gremlins TV show. Okay. Oh yeah, he played Perry Mason in the Perry Mason show over on, I think it was that Showtime? that Showtime or HBO? HBO. Okay, yeah, he was Perry Mason. Yeah, that's what it was. It was Perry Mason that I saw him in. That was a good show, and he did a good job. So, and it's spelled R-H-Y-S, Reese, Matthew Reese. Like, I always want to say Rise, but it's Reese, as far as I understand it. So nothing then. No, he's been in lots of stuff. It's just like small stuff. He's not usually a headline actor except for like the Perry Mason thing. And here he's great. Oh my gosh. He's wonderful. Loved watching him do everything in this. It was wonderful. Peter, like Knight Rider with a more reasonable budget. What? Bateman kind of looks like a discount Dennis Quaid. In this one, I guess so, with the beard and the hair. The long hair kind of does it too, I suppose. Discount Dennis Quaid. Oh, Dennis Quaid. Dreamscape. Yeah, if you want a good Dennis Quaid movie, or Inner Space. Dreamscape or Inner Space. Yeah, those are good Dennis Quaid movies. Not the only Dennis Quaid movies, but, or Big Easy. Big Easy was good. Black Rabbit. Oh, Knight Rider? I mean, like Kit and Michael Knight Rider? Or is there something else? You said Knight Rider. Okay, maybe I don't know what that is. Because when I hear Knight Rider, I'm thinking of like, cars with little red lights on the front talking to me. Bateman and Ozark was great. Yeah, Bateman and Ozark was great. There was some fluff in the course of Ozark. There was season 2 felt a lot weaker than season 1, but it got better. But the cast and the chemistry and the twists and the turns all made it worthwhile. I always felt like it was an adjunct to Breaking Bad. Like Ozark could be taking place in the Breaking Bad universe in some way, because it seemed to be that kind of a riff off of that kind of thing, except that Marty Byrde, the character, was bad from the beginning, more or less. So, Volkswagen Rabbit. Oh, I see. Black Rabbit. Gotcha. Okay, I didn't make the Volkswagen. I haven't seen a Volkswagen Rabbit. My across the street neighbor back in the 80s had a silver Rabbit convertible. But do they even make that? Even a kind of that anymore? I don't think so. Pop Culture Minefield is stream on Dreamscape the other day. Yes, I saw that. Yep, Dreamscape. Snake Man. Oh, Snake Man. And the guy that plays Snake Man, whose name I can't remember, when he showed up in John Wick, the first John Wick movie, as the cleaner guy, I was like, Snake Man! Because every time I see that guy, my first thought, because I was traumatized by Snake Man as a kid. Seeing Snake Man in that movie as a kid freaked me out. Burned into my brain. Snake Man. Normal people called it a Golf. I thought that was a separate kind of car. But I don't know. I don't keep an encyclopedia of Volkswagen models in my head. Matt asked if Black Rabbit was about Volkswagen. Ah, gotcha. Volkswagen. Anyway, guys, there's the show. A couple articles, mostly on crime or evil insignias, and a couple of TV reviews. Just because I've been in it. The third series I watched, this isn't any kind of hot take or anything. I watched Dune Prophecy on HBO. And yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things where the whole setup is very girl bossish to begin with, but of course the Bene Gesserit are it's a coven of, witches, essentially. So it's hard to avoid girls being the main characters. But I tell you what, despite that, every single man in that show is either a dunderhead or a villain or a creep. It's got very girl boss mentality vibes to it as I'm watching it, which it wasn't overwhelming. And again, the setting in Dune, the Bene Gesserit are girl bosses effectively, so that kind of mitigate it a little bit. But when you have every person who's in a leadership role in that show is so helpless. They need a truth-sayer to tell them what to do. I don't know what to do unless I have this truth-sayer telling me what to do, and I'm so weak. And the real crime of it is that the Emperor is played by Mark Strong. Oh, Mark Strong's great in everything. He classes up any role that he gets, and it's like, oh my gosh, Mark Strong, Emperor of the Imperium, yeah. And then he is a weather vane. The character he plays is an absolute weather vane. If there's someone in the room who has a mildly stronger personality than he has, he doesn't know what to do except go along with them. Oh, well, yes, I suppose that would be the best idea. I have no agency of my own. I haven't been, as a character, bred to become a leader of a vast intergalactic imperium, or to know the ins and outs of courtly politics my entire life into middle age. No, in this instance, in this moment, suddenly, I don't know what to do unless my weird and obviously has no agenda of their own Bene Gesserit truthsayer tells me what to do, or when my wife in the next minute in the next room tells me what to do, or when this soldier who appears out of nowhere, who's just a badass, starts telling me what to do. I guess I'll do what they say, because I'm a blank slate. Now, I mean, you could say, well, there are people like that. Fair enough. But when every single individual who is in the charge of one of the major houses acts in that same fashion, you're like, what the? There's only one guy. There's only one guy in the entire show who's absolutely on point about everything. And he's one of the Harkonnen. He's like, I mean, he is, for the sake of this story's deal, he's sort of like the elder Baron Harkonnen. This story takes place like 10,000 years before the Paul Atreides saga. Which, if you're going to do one of these vast, space opera things and do a story in its own realm, that's the best thing to do, is to go way, way into the past or to go way, way in the future. I wish Star Wars had learned that lesson. But I liked all the visuals. I liked the representations of things from the books. But the story was just, it was so badly written, because if these things and these characters did not behave in this way, the story simply couldn't happen. It just felt so, everything fell into line exactly as it had to, and everybody behaved exactly as they were supposed to in order for the story to happen. There was no sense of confusion or uncertainty about who would do what or when it would happen. And my focus on my camera went out. If I put my hands up, the focus on my camera decides to go haywire. I don't know. Anyway, so that wasn't Netflix, that was HBO. With that, guys, thank you for joining me. Let's see, programming notes. Monday, unless something comes up, per usual, will be the next episode of DEI Death Watch, which I'm considering renaming to Belonging and Inclusion Ascension, or something. If I see more businesses changing their policies to belonging and inclusion from DEI, because that's the new flavor of the week thanks to Disney, I might have to change the branding just to keep up with the times. Oh yes, ear work. It was what? Equity, accessibility, and reconciliation? Trying to remember. Yes, last night on The Corner on Frosted Glasses channel, I appeared for an hour to talk about ear work. Would you like to know about ear work? I don't, but if I hear that phrase used again in a different context by a different company or something, maybe ear will be the next thing. I got a feeling that marketing guys probably won't like that one too much, but you never know. Stranger things have happened, and season 5 is on the way. But yeah, so DEI Death Watch on Monday, TED Excellence next Thursday. Yes, I'll be doing TED Excellence on Thursday, Thanksgiving. So for those of you who are Thanksgiving orphans and have nowhere else to go or nothing else to do, I'll try to keep you company on Thursday, Thanksgiving night with a TED Excellence. I might do a little marathon just for the sake of it. I'll try to find, if I can, Thanksgiving themed talks or things that I could at least reasonably associate with Thanksgiving for entertainment and enlightenment. But elsewise, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I did forget one thing. I am known to forget at least this one thing once in a while. I did not make a link to the Discord server. On the off chance that you're not a member of the Discord server, would like to join the Discord server, there is a link to the Discord server in the chat right now. Click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you are not a bot. Actually watch the stream and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is criminal genius. Just say, hello, criminal genius, and I'll know that you watch the show. And I will also understand you are not accusing me of being a criminal genius. Though, as compared to some of our subjects today, if I were to do so, I would probably come across comparatively as such. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or, more importantly, at the top of the chat box, guys, the link to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society donation page. Please take a look at that. And thank you so much for your generosity. Everyone, have a good rest of your Saturday. Have a good Sunday ahead of you. Have a good rest of the week ahead of you. Hope to see you Thanksgiving for TED Excellence. Or if not, I hope that you're having plenty of tryptophan. Tryptophan. It's good for the bones. Maybe. Anyway, until then, I hope you're all safe and well. And if you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.